This is rattleandhumpsports.com and time for another edition of The Muscle and the Mouth. I'm Bryan Houston, the mouth, and that's really all I am. And Kelly Hitchcock is the muscle, also the brains behind the muscle, as he has been a longtime fitness trainer and the owner and the operator of KH Fitness in Tyler, Texas. Kelly, good to have you here with us again this week.
Great to be here, Brian.
All right, last time we met, we started talking about some of the most common questions that fitness trainers are asked by their clients in the gym. I've asked those questions, you've heard them all, and usually it's the same questions coming from a lot of different people. So we're going to cover some of these topics. One of these is a real good one. It's a basic philosophy thing. Should I do cardio first or weight train first?
That's a great question. When we use different fuel sources depending upon the intensity and duration of our workout. So really what we need to look at is what fuel source do we have to use first, and where would it be best placed? Would it be best placed to do the cardio, as asked, or the weight training first? The best exercise to do first when you come into the gym is always going to be weightlifting. Usually we've eaten, and let's just say it's been 2 to 3 hours, we go to the gym. Our glycogen stores, that's our carbohydrate stores, are full. We want to take advantage of that. When we lift weights, due to the intensity and the stress of the weight lifting, our body prefers glycogen, carbohydrates. So let's go ahead and let's go in the weight room and let's do whatever we have programmed for the day. When you get through lifting weights, there's a great window of about 15 to 20 minutes that is optimal for fat burn. Okay, to burn fat, the glycogen levels need to be reduced. So after we lift weights, our glycogen levels are reduced. So you go and get on whatever your favorite type of cardio equipment is. If it's a treadmill, that's great, elliptical, whatever. Never look at a cardio machine as something that's going to tighten or tone up an area. Okay, the cardio equipment is for your heart. So what we do is we go and get on the treadmill, and we want to do 10 to 15 minutes of cardio right after you lift weights. Now, there are some specifics about the cardio. When you do your aerobic training, you need to do it at 70% of your max heart rate. Now, this is pretty easy to figure. If you'll write these numbers down, you take 220 minus your age, take that number times 70%, okay, and that'll give you what your 70% of your max heart rate is. Now, some of the cardio machines, they have a little pulse monitor on there. I think if you're really wanting to get an accurate reading, you can go to get a Polar heart rate monitor, and they're pretty readily available anywhere, Academy or Target, anywhere. But I would wear one of those. And at 70% of our max heart rate is our body's maximal uptake of oxygen. It's funny, we have classes we call aerobic classes, and they're really not aerobic classes. They're really anaerobic classes, because the intensity of that stepping up and dancing is usually going to be higher than 70%. And the argument there is, and I agree, is that, well, I burn more calories when I work harder doing my aerobic training. Well, you do work harder, but you're taking a big risk of eating up a lot of muscle mass, lean body mass. And we spoke before that muscle is your metabolism. So when we get through lifting weights and we go get on the treadmill, if you keep it at 70%, you're ensuring that the majority of those calories are coming from fat. And that's very important. We don't want to start touching the muscle. And that's why, when I have some of my extreme competitors, like say maybe the Miss Fitness or bodybuilders, we try to back off as much cardio as possible. They're getting their aerobic training in really kind of during their workout. So just be careful, but it's always best to do your cardio after your weight training. Now, that doesn't mean you can't come in and warm up for 5 minutes, but just don't make your aerobic routine something that you do before you lift weights.
Okay, now there is always the theory in everything we do, if a little is good, then a lot is better. Okay, and obviously that's flawed, but let's say I go through my weight workout, and now I want to get on that cardio machine, but I want to do an hour of cardio. All right, so have I just blown everything that I accomplished in the weight room? What kind of benefits, what kind of disadvantages do I put myself in?
We have cardio addicts, and they just love it, and that's fine. But realize that that's all you're getting from it. I mean, the positive benefits is that you feel good. But the negative benefits are that after about 15 minutes on the treadmill, let's say you've lifted weights, you've been on the treadmill. After 15 minutes, what happens is the blood sugar drops to a really low level. Now, we've got to understand that our brain completely runs on carbohydrates, on glucose. Okay, so when that blood sugar starts to drop to a certain level, there's a little warning, if you will, bell that goes off in your brain, and it says, "Hey, the blood sugar is getting too low. We need to produce some more sugar." So what your body does is it starts to release a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone. Catabolic means it breaks down. So we release cortisol. The cortisol breaks down the muscle tissue and it converts it into sugar. Now that process is called gluconeogenesis. It's the creation of new blood sugar from a non-sugar substance. So what we do is that after that 15 minutes, we're basically breaking down and lowering our metabolic rate to provide sugar for our brain so that we don't pass out. If you exceed that, if anybody's ever experienced low blood sugar where they pass out, that's what's going on. You're exceeding your body's ability to break down muscle and convert it into sugar for your brain. So the body's pretty smart. It takes care of itself. It'll stop you. And then as you pass out, what happens is the gluconeogenesis process kicks in and you get sugar in your brain and you wake up.
Okay, now if you do, like I said, go on a treadmill binge where you want to go on for 30 minutes to an hour, what does that do as far as the workout that you just finished? I understand about the blood sugar issues, but does that counter the effects of lifting the weights?
Yeah, it's very counterproductive. That's what we would call overtraining. It's just too much for the muscle. Muscle ends up becoming a fuel source. Like I said on our last talk, that weight training gives you potential. But if you are spending hours and hours on the treadmill while you're doing your strength training, your aerobic training is going to interfere with your strength goals or your muscle goals. If you're trying to tone up, you're actually not going to become toned. You're going to become more loose skin, more flabby. And that's one thing I have a hard time with women, is that they've been shown in Shape magazine, Muscle and Fitness, these girls get on there and do hours and hours of cardio, which is just not true. So what we've got to do is, like I said, train smarter, not harder, and we've got to have a concern for muscle. And if you're going longer than 15 to 20 minutes on the cardio, on the treadmill, then you're gonna impede all your goals. Let me just say this though, I've been called a cardio hater, whatever they want to call me, but again, we've said what is our goals, and our goals is to increase lean body mass. If you're getting ready for a marathon, then we need to have a whole different conversation. I'm not against aerobic training. I think aerobic training is a very important part of our fitness program. But if you are trying to increase your lean body mass and tone up, then doing too much cardio is going to affect that.
Okay, very good. We understand that then. All right. Do I need to take dietary supplements?
Okay, supplement, just look at that word. Supplement to me means in addition to. We're going to supplement what? Okay, so what we need to do mainly is our number one priority needs to be the quality of the food that we're taking in. Once that's met, then we can supplement it if we need to. Usually our foods, they are not as degraded as most people will have you believe. They think the soil is bad, and they come up with all these flawed pseudoscientific studies saying that we're not getting all of our nutrition. I agree we're not getting all of our nutrition, but it's not because the food doesn't have the nutrition we need. It's because the choices of food that we're eating are lacking nutrition. And it's because we're buying, fast food and processed food but you can never compensate for unhealthy eating habits by taking supplements. You always need to be concerned with the food first. If I were to take a supplement, a multivitamin is, I would say, insurance. Usually a multivitamin might be probably the best way to go, but I wouldn't get these packages that have 10 vitamins in it, because from experience, you'll try it 2 to 3 days, and after you almost choke on that third day, you won't take them anymore. So just get like a generic random multivitamin. One of the supplements that I use, I love protein shakes. They're good because I don't really have the luxury of eating out of my 5 meals. Only 2 of those are at home. So I'm carrying stuff with me all day. And it's easy to make a shake and put it in a thermos and have that as a mid-morning, mid-afternoon. That shake, for me and for everybody else, let me tell you, the second most important meal of your whole day is the meal within an hour of exercise. When you've worked out and you did that 15 minutes of cardio, your glycogen stores are depleted. We need to fill them back up as soon as possible. When you get through lifting weights, you have your growth hormone is elevated, your testosterone levels are elevated, and that insulin is ready to shuttle that fuel somewhere. And we've got storage sites available in the liver and in the muscle. So when you drink that shake, since it's got a simple carb, because we usually put a banana in it, and it's got pre-digested protein, the powders of pre-digested protein, 70% of that shake will be absorbed into the muscle tissue. If you eat let's say a baked potato and a chicken breast, well, the baked potatoes are complex, so it takes too long to break it down into glucose and glycogen. The chicken breast is a protein, but it takes too long to break it down into essential amino acids. So it's always best to do that shake right after you exercise. And that's pretty much all as far as supplements, that's pretty much all the supplements I recommend.
Okay, very good. One other question now. You talked about target heart rate before. I'm always frustrated with this because I like to run and I use a heart rate monitor, and it doesn't take very long, and probably because I'm not in great shape, for me to hit that target heart rate, and I don't feel like I'm working hard enough. But 70% is where it needs to be, between, I guess, 60 and 80%, I think, is what I've read before. What is ideal?
Well, I want to back up just a little bit because you said I feel. I mean, I hear that a lot. I don't feel like I'm working hard enough. Okay. You know, feelings are what gets us in trouble. This is science, and when we know, because there's these respiratory machines that you can go to at your local college, that you breathe in, or you breathe in, and it's a measuring of oxygen consumption, and you breathe out, and it's a measurement of carbon dioxide output, and through that measurement, you can tell this person is predominantly working on fat, or he's predominantly working on carbohydrate. You can tell that this person's mainly a fast twitch or a slow twitch. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can get from that. So when we say 70%, we know for a fact that that is your body's maximal uptake of oxygen. You are correct. When you first begin, you're going to not really feel like, I mean, you're running slow because it doesn't take much to get to 70%. But as you become more fit, your speed is going to pick up and your heart's going to be more efficient. So it's not having to work as hard. So what I would recommend for anyone, which is really hard because I think most of us have gone in the gym and it's all based on feelings. Let's take the feelings out of it a little bit, and let's let that heart rate monitor guide us on our whatever, on our running or on our biking, and that's gonna be more effective. Let me give you an example of I've been guilty of this. I remember I went out hunting one time, and I had a compass. And I got out, and I could have swore it was saying north, and I knew that's where my truck was at, but I decided I was going to go east because I felt like we were in that direction. Well, about 3 hours later, I realized maybe I better go back north, and I did find my truck. Yeah. But, you know, sometimes the things that we feel are the things that are taking us further away from our goals. So it's very important to, I think, get some specifics: an exercise prescription, a workout prescription, same thing, a cardio prescription, and stick with that as close as possible. And then after about 6 weeks, maybe, get back with the fitness person that you're working with and have them reassess it. Because, like you said, if you're running at 3.3 on the treadmill and reaching 70%, we're probably going to bump that up to 3.6 in 6 weeks. So It's always good to kind of reassess where I'm at. And even with your weight training, we're going to have to bump it up just a little bit.
Okay, so you do have to increase the intensity at some point.
Yeah, you'll increase the intensity, but the heart rate will stay the same.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So feelings, throw that out.
Throw the feelings out.
That terrible song that goes along with it as well.
Save them for something else.
One last question. The difference between weight machines and free weights. What's the benefit? What's the disadvantage of one over the other?
I wouldn't say they both have their place. The thing with free weights is that there's a lot of stability that occurs. You're having to control that bar. You're having to control the dumbbells. And I think that there's a big misconception as we get older, we need to go to the machines. Because it's easy, they're pin loaded. You just kind of load that up, and we'll do a set and set there, and we won't let anybody else get in there and work in with us because we don't want to get up. But that's a joke. The thing with as we get older, we have these sensors in our muscles called proprioceptors. And proprioceptors are composed of the GTO, it's Golgi tendon organ, and the muscle spindle. What they do is they give us spatial awareness. There's an area in our brain called the parietal lobe that helps with spatial awareness, and it sends a message down the central nervous system to those muscles. And it helps us to orient our world. A good example of proprioception, have you ever stepped off of a step and you thought it was 8 inches, but it ended up being 10 inches?
Oh, yeah.
And there was that flexion in your leg, like kind of a lockup in your leg. Or has someone ever thrown you a box and you thought there were shoes in it and you overcompensated and you over-recruited? Okay, those are proprioceptors. It happens autonomically. It's a part of our autonomic system. So when you're doing these free weights, not only are you stressing the skeletal tissue, the skeletal muscles, but you're also stressing the central nervous system and some very important balancing sensors in our muscles. So it helps with the stabilization. So as we get older, don't shy away from the free weights. Of course, we want to learn how to do it properly and safely, but you definitely want to do some things with some free weights because it's very beneficial. Now, I do throw in, when we talk about machines, there's a few machines like leg extensions, leg curls. It's really hard to mimic that movement without sitting down on a machine. So I incorporate all of it. I don't specifically do one over the other, but I do a mixture of all of those.
Okay, but it's not a great thing to come in and just do strictly machines for your entire workout.
Not at all, because you're really limiting you're limiting yourself to the structural, the main movers like the pecs. What happens is you leave out a lot of the rotator, like say rotator cuff exercises or hip flexors, all those little bitty fine motor skill type muscles, they get neglected. So incorporate some dumbbells, incorporate straight bar. There's even there's in some gyms, and I see this, we get carried away. This is almost like cardio. We get carried away with the functional training. And that basically means putting somebody on an unstable surface, and they have it's called a Bosu ball. Mm-hmm. We have stability balls that we use for doing crunches. There's a lot of products like that it puts us in an unstable environment, and we try to lift weights. You can do that some, but don't make that the majority of your workout. I think the NSCA, which is National Strength and Conditioning Association, said it best. They said standing on a Bosu ball doing side laterals makes you better at standing on a Bosu ball doing side laterals. It is good to work those small, fine motor muscles, but in reality, we need to, when you're working those big muscles, the pecs, the back, the lats, you're getting some of that stabilization in there. So don't make the Bosu ball an hour workout. Maybe finish up with 10 to 15 minutes of that.
Okay. Where can people go to find more information from you?
If you have any questions, you could email me at khfitness@aol.com, or you could send me messages on our Facebook page. It's all one word. It's KH Fitness.
Okay, very good. And, of course, you can always tweet questions to me at Bryan Houston, BryanHouston. Kelly, thanks very much.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, and this is another edition of Muscle in the Mouth. I'm Bryan Houston on rattleandhumsports.com. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.